It's nights like this that I miss Nate. That's fine, you can miss another man. That's okay. Good? Are you good? I'm good. It's really great to be here in Denver. I've done comedy in a lot of different cities, and Denver's by far my favorite place to perform. I've done comedy in Lodo, Broomsfield, and Highlands Ranch. This is my first night performing in Denver, so we're both in for a treat. Before I get started, I do have a disclaimer to make. For anyone who's seen my act before, you know how brutally honest I am and how controversial I can be. And, you know, if you have strong political leanings, whether you're left-wing, right-wing, or an unwavering moderate, you should leave the room now. Don't get me wrong, I'm not here to piss people off, okay? I'm not here to be outrageous just for the sake of being outrageous, and I'm not here to stir up controversy. I'm not here to make people think. I'm not here to be interesting. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm not here to make you laugh, and I'm not here so you can pass the time on a Wednesday night by listening to me. So if any of this applies to you, leave now. And I'm gonna wait a moment to let you exit quietly. So everyone who's still here, fair warning, listen at your own risk. Did you know the so-called US government currently has 40,000 soldiers currently stationed in Iraq? And they're dying by the day. Don't they know there's a war going on over there? Get our soldiers out of there. I mean, if Congress wants our soldiers to be in any condition to fight our next conflict, I suggest they don't place them in the middle of a country torn up by war, where their lives and their very safety is in danger. I heard they're talking about possibly sending them over to Iran now. Have you heard about this? Boo is right, sir. What if a war breaks out there? Is anyone in elected office thinking? You know, if you came here to hear some softball family comedy, I'm sorry, I'm the wrong guy, okay? I don't pull any punches. I'm a straight shooter, and, you know, somebody out there has to be saying this, and nobody is. You know, our soldiers fight so that we have certain rights, like the right to vote. And there is a huge voting problem in this country. I've been denied my voting privileges in both of our last elections. I wasn't allowed to vote for John Kerry in '04, and I wasn't allowed to vote for Barack Obama in 2008. I'm serious about this. And, I mean, you guys have heard about this, right? This kind of stuff. I just never thought it would happen to me. And I'm not trying to blame it on some kind of, you know, conspiracy or some political thing. I just wonder how many people out there, you know, this is happening to. I'm a US citizen. I haven't been caught for a myriad of felonies. I pay my taxes. So just because I voted for Bush and McCain, I can't vote for anyone else? If the fat, lazy politicians in Capitol Hill had it their way, we'd be a fascist state. As it is, they're telling us we can only vote one time for one candidate per race in one state. I even went to another precinct to see if it would be any different. But the corruption is statewide. Puff Daddy says, if you don't vote, you might as well kill yourself. Well, kill me now, Sean John, if I'm not allowed to vote for as many candidates as I want to. Don't get me started on corporate America. Did you know that the majority of corporate Americans work for the corporations? And the corporations, in turn, employ corporate Americans at an alarming 95 to 100% of their workforce. And what about George W. Bush? He's not in office anymore. You know what I mean? He's not even running things. And Barack Obama, he's been elected to the highest office in our country. He's been president of the United States of America since January. I'm not going to apologize for telling it like it is. And Hillary Clinton ran against him. Her husband, did you know that her husband was already a president? Yeah, Bill Clinton. And where is he now? Not in office, just like who? George W. Bush. Starting to put the pieces together? And it's not just the politicians at the top, it's all politicians. You know, there are politicians in every sector of the government. Judicial, legislative, executive. And you know, do you know right now there are politicians in all 50 states? They're making laws, passing laws, enforcing laws. Yeah, politicians. There's actually, it's surprising, there are enough senators and congresspeople in this country to represent every single person in every precinct in the country. I had a guy who came up to me at my last show, and he asked me if I was faking being outraged. Like, oh, you're just faking it or whatever. I totally took offense. And I was like, and I had this slogan that somebody just told me, if you're not outraged, you're not paying for something. Did I get that right? What's that?
Not paying attention.
Don't heckle me. Look, just because I don't remember it right doesn't mean that I wasn't paying attention when someone said it, okay? You know, I don't deserve to be heckled. I didn't come here to be heckled, okay? You know, I don't come to where, you heckle people and perform there, okay? So, and I'm talking about serious stuff here. And I remember the saying, it was, you know, if you're outraged, if you're outraged, you're paying your taxes, and you know, because taxes that's how the whole system's run. So you should be outraged. You know what I mean? And you know, I'm talking about, you know, the serious issues that affect people, and I'm not going to apologize, you know, for being educated. I'm sorry if I'm blowing your mind. You know, I'm sorry if, you know, this is rocking your world, rocking the very foundation of everything you've ever known. But, you know, somebody has to be saying this kind of stuff, because, you know, it's important and it's out there. And, you know, I watch a lot of TV, okay? Like, I know what's going on out there. And, you know, if you're going to come here, like, you know, if you can't handle it, if you can't, you know, hear what I'm saying and handle it, you know, you might as well go home and, you know, curl up with a blanket and curl up in front of your fire and, you know, just pretend that nothing's going on outside, okay? You know, keep drinking that Kool-Aid. You heard all this commotion about not letting gays get married? I think it's bullshit. I mean, how does this affect anybody? People think like gayness rubs off on them or something. I've had sex with plenty of gay guys and I'm still completely straight. I'm not buying it. And, you know, speaking of things that don't affect people, have you heard all this bullshit about global warming? Global warming either exists or it doesn't exist. So we should stop talking about it. I don't know who would be an advocate for this anyway. I mean, if global warming even does half the things that it's supposed to do, who would be for that? And people are so concerned with the fate of humanity over the next 100 years. What about the fate of the human population in the next 10 decades? I don't hear anyone talking about that. And one last thing. People call me a racist because of my views on global warming. Well, I have very strong convictions when it comes to race, okay? My uncle is black, he's 55 years old, he lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and he's told me plenty of stories of, you know, being called the N-word and, you know, all over his life. And, you know, it's not for the reasons you're going to assume, okay? You know, it wasn't because he was stealing things or raping people. It's because he's black, okay? Just for the color of his skin. You know, my white uncle's never told me any stories of being called the N-word. Hell, when I was growing up, my uncle wasn't even allowed in our house. That's how racist our society is. I'll give you a great example. I live in Lakewood, which is about 65 miles from here, and to this day, 40 years after Marty King's death, I've only ever had one black person in my home. Who behaves like that in today's day and age? A white male, of course. Makes me sick. I'm out of here.
Ladies and gentlemen, give another hand for Sam.
I think I blew their minds.